Hey, you're listening to Canyouth Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I am Dr. Canyouth Wise. I have yet another interesting guest with me today, and we're going to talk about a number of things. And I won't tell you yet. As you wait out to see, then you'll realize that you'd have an interest in what my guest and I will be talking about. And I know that a number of persons have been listening, especially our audio from across the world, basically Canada, Russia, even Ukraine, Cayman, Brazil, Denmark, and some other places. So we're getting that traction. So I'm going to let my guest in, and we'll be having a chit chat about a number of things, right? Okay, let me let my guest in. Debbie, how you doing?
Hello, Dr. White and everyone around the world.
Hey,
what an honor.
Great for that. Look, Debbie, in Jamaica, we have a way of having a short version of names, right? And even more so, different variants of names. You understand? Smith, Smudge, Bobby, Bob, Williams, Will, and so on. And, we get there. But Deb, talk to me about that. I think it's a shortening of something.
You mean the names, how simple they are?
Is it Debbie, or is it not?
Well, my birth name is Deborah.
Oh, Deborah.
Yeah.
Oh.
You could say Deborah, Deborah.
I got you.
There's a little bit of a rhythm with that, don't you think?
Yeah, I know, right?
but in Wisconsin, in the States, our town names are a challenge. Oh. We have towns called Oconomowoc, Sheboygan, just odd names. So we try to trick people to say our town names, and they can't pronounce them.
I tell you, Debbie, before I get into it, I'm also a professor, and a lot of times when I have students for the first time, I have problem pronouncing some of those surname in particular, so I avoid them sometimes.
Mine's easy. Now, your first name is, how do I say, Canyouth?
That's it. A lot of people said different thing, a different version of it, but it's Canyouth.
Canyouth.
Yeah, and some people say Canyouth. And those are the Latinos among us. But I take any name.
You take any name.
Yeah, I take any name.
Canyouth. Is the T pronounced or is it not?
It's not.
So canoe.
Yeah.
Like we're in the water going, paddling to canoe.
Ah, okay, canoe. Yeah. It's supposed to that canoe.
Got it.
All right. Hey, Debbie, who are you really? Who is Deb? Tell me.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I'm just a small town girl, full of lots of fun and love and honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to explain it. And a child of God.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love what I'm seeing behind you there. It's interesting. And that shows that you are,
yes,
a child of God. Tell me about that.
Oh gosh, I sure will. I'm a Gen Xer, Dr. Canoe, and I've been through a lot in my life, personally and professionally. And there's one thing for sure is I could not get through it without God, grit, and grace.
Yeah.
And He knows I have a lot of grit in me. There were many times I was upset with Him.
Yeah.
But He also knows we all give grace and we all forgive. So, yes, I am a Christian, and yes, I am a sinner. I make mistakes, but we are all forgiven, and that's the beauty of God, grit, and grace.
Yeah, I love that, Debbie. Deborah. This Debbie comes to mind, but I'm sure you won't accept any name, but I will try not to say Debbie again.
You can. My middle name is Joe, and my family calls me Debbie Joe.
Oh, well, look at that. Okay. All right. Hey, look, your childhood. Tell me about your childhood.
My childhood was a bit rough in my younger days, and a lot of that stems from my mom was adopted back in her young baby days when she was a young baby, and she was born with polio. So I know better now that her life was rough as a mom. But through growing up, she got involved in some wrong areas of life, but we all make mistakes. And there was a time that she was just gone quite a lot during my life. And my dad ended up getting custody of me. And one thing with my mom, I love her dearly today. We have a really good relationship today. But when we were young, she abandoned me. And there was a long period of our life when my dad won custody of me where she just wasn't part of my life, Dr. Canyouth. She just, I don't know if it's because she was adopted and didn't have family, but she just likes to be alone.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is sometimes that's in me. I've got that from her. Some days I just want to be alone and not be around anybody. So, but believe it or not, 40 some years later, I saw her here and there, but not often. But now today, as of March of 2020, when the pandemic hit, we moved her in temporarily with us because she called out to me looking for help. The home she was living in was a terrible home. People were dying from drug overdoses, and she needed help. And most adult children probably would say, "Screw you! You didn't take care of me." But you know what happened? I had to forgive myself first before I could forgive her. Because now that I'm older, I understood her life wasn't perfect when she was a child. So, I forgave her. And today she lives across town, like 5 minutes from us. And my husband and I take her to her doctor appointments, grocery shopping, and we make sure things are taken care of. Now, my father, he remarried a very nice lady who everybody thought was my real mom because she participated in all my life events. And I love her just as much like she is my real mom. And so the best news about this, now I have two mothers in my life toward the tail end of my life. So how about that?
Yeah, that sounds great. And I was reading the news back in Jamaica recently, and I saw where this boy, he was, graduating, it's graduation time. And the headline says, "Boy with two mothers praised." I never said two mothers, but I suspect the stepmother and his biological mother.
There you go.
Support him.
Yeah. I think anybody can step in to be a mother or a father. I know my dad, he passed away in 2018. He would care for anybody like it was a child of his own. And I think we all need to have that mentality, right? Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that.
Thanks for asking.
Fascinating childhood. Like most of us, we had gone through a few things during our childhood. And Sigmund Freud said that the child is the father of the man, meaning your childhood can shape who you become. But again, you can tweak that to have a better reflection of your childhood. Right?
Yes, I agree. And I bet your listeners would agree too. We've all been through a lot. There's no doubt about it. And it all has shaped us to who we are today. But that's the question. How do you want to shape yourself based on what you went through? It could be good or it could be bad.
So you can do the tweaking,
Yeah.
And as you talk about that though, the traumatic past that you have had, abandonment that you had talked about, I have not heard anything about domestic abuse much. Maybe you don't want to go into that. But how did it strengthen you and empower you and help you to empower other women as you move around society?
Yeah. So after I lived with my father, and my mom was gone a lot out of my life back in the day for her own reasons. I kind of felt like dismissed and just like not loved. My dad was working full-time and part-time, so he was absent a lot. And I just was looking for love and to be seen because I felt like I was just dismissed and that nobody loved me because they always disappeared. Well, I had a high school relationship with a very nice man, and that lasted a good 3 years, which back in school age times, that was a long time. And the family took me in like their own daughter. But he was 2 years older than me, Dr. Canyouth. And
Yeah.
he got to see the big world in college universities, and he broke up with me. And that hurt. So I felt very heartbroken then. And then I dated this other man, and I thought this was it, and somebody finally sees me and loves me.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
no, he went back to his ex-wife because they had a 3-year-old baby daughter together. And I found myself in the hospital after trying to commit suicide because I just felt like no matter who I got close to, they left me.
Yeah.
So then the third attempt, I meet this man on a bowling league. And this was in the 90s. And in the state of Wisconsin, bowling is big. It's probably still big today, but back then we bowled. And we got married quick because I felt like I was getting older and I wanted to start a family. Well, after we got married, I learned quickly he was abusive physically, mentally, a severe alcoholic. He stole. He couldn't hold a job. He attempted to kill me several times. I bailed him out of jail 3 times. I hid all of this from my family, my dad, and from my work. That's what women do. We hide a lot and we put on this facade that everything is okay when it's not.
Yeah.
And again, like God, grit, and grace, I got through that situation. And my dad came and rescued me. And my big old Uncle Joe, sometimes I wonder if he's listening because I see we might be on Facebook here, but my Uncle Joe helped my dad come rescue me from this first marriage. That the police came, there was a restraining order, and they got me out of that house and moved me in with my dad temporarily. So that's that story. So if you see my journey, I just was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And the good news is I finally found my husband.
Yeah.
We'll be married 30 years. He's a man of faith, and he would not marry me unless I believed in Jesus Christ and had a relationship with him. And of course I said I did. And then they said, well, you can't live together. You got to get married now. So we quickly put it together, and here we are. 30 years later, I've got 3 daughters and 4 grandchildren and 2 more on the way.
Wow. I must big up. We say in Jamaica, big up. I must big up your husband. No husband. Sorry, husband. Right.
Yeah.
Big up, sir. Look, you said something that I've heard from time and time again on my program, and perhaps in other places. Looking for love in the wrong places. A number of my guests, females, that is, usually that's the case, have said that. So I heard this over and over again on my program. Why is that so? Why so many females looking for love, but usually in the wrong places?
I'm going to say, now that I know today how important mental awareness is and help when you go through trauma.
Yeah.
Back then, we hid it all. So if a lot of your guests are similar in age, we were raised in the 90s, in the 80s, even in the 70s. If you see something or something's not wrong, you just pretend everything is fine. Right. And nobody really talked about mental health or seeking mental health, because if you went, then you were frowned upon by your employer. You didn't want them to know. So we hid everything. And sometimes we'd hide not only just physically, but we would hide it with drinking and drugs and suicide attempts. And we were lost. We were lost is what it stemmed down to. I'm hoping today that mental awareness and help is better in our country, but I do know we do struggle with availability of doctors. They're booked out for months, and it's hard to get in. And I just think, I'm sure it's this way around the world. It's hard to get the right care that we need, but maybe we need to just talk about it more and create more awareness.
Right? And that's it, Deb, because you echoed just now something that a guest said a few days ago. He was struggling. Well, he's struggling with bipolar.
Mhm.
74-year-old at this time, after being raped at 9, and persons can see it on the channel. But he said that, hey, the time that you have to wait to get
Yeah.
mental health care,
Mhm.
it's not something that you want, because by that time you would have perhaps committed suicide,
Mhm.
or get worse. So that's an echo that you have made just now. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You're right on. And then if they prescribe anything for
Yeah,
you, it takes a long time to get acclimated to the right meds that you might need, if that's the route you go.
yeah,
But we need more help in that area.
yeah,
We need
yeah.
that more
Yeah,
help.
definitely, definitely. Most of us know, because I am not no longer in the field. I am teaching now, and doing podcasts, and just
Okay.
yeah. So that's
You
the sort of thing as a psychotherapist. It's
got it.
but yes, we do need more more help out there, because the
Yes.
world is sitting, as I always say, on a mental health time bomb. Right? Anything
Yeah.
can happen anytime. All right.
Along with corporate supporting it too, the help. And everybody's afraid to let their employer know that there's issues at home. I
Yeah,
mean, I hid everything when I was being beat up. I still showed up and was a top performer at work.
yeah,
And I put up a story on LinkedIn, gosh, the end of last year,
yeah,
about what my life was at that time. And one of my old supervisors back from the days of the 1990s saw
yeah.
my post. He had no idea, and he wrote me a direct message. He's
Wow.
retired and elderly now, and he said, I had no idea what you were going through. He said, you showed up every day with a smile on your face and got the job done. I said, because that's what we did.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
So
sort of a support system in the workplace too. But as you talk about that, you might have gone through challenges in your own professional life.
mhm.
What are some of those challenges that you had gone through? Significant challenges that you had gone through in your own
Yeah.
profession.
Well, that very first professional career job where that boss reached out to me on LinkedIn when I put a post about how rough my life was
Mhm.
personally with that first marriage of domestic abuse, but I still showed up at work for
Right.
18 years at
Yeah.
that employer as a female on a male dominated team. It was a finance company where I worked.
Yeah.
And I did not get the job based on a college education because my dad could not afford to put me through school.
Yeah.
So I started out at the bottom of this company as a customer service rep,
Mhm.
and I worked my way up to an assistant manager promotions because I was outpacing
Right.
the men that had college educations.
Yeah.
So in due time, Dr. Canoe, I
Mhm.
positively, persistently requested to be promoted to a branch manager.
Yeah.
And I was told no, because they don't promote women, flat
Mhm.
out. And furthermore, I didn't have a college education. And this was in the 90s.
Mhm.
And during that time, they could get away with it. There was no big focus on disparate treatment and such. So I was told no, but I believe when someone tells you no, it just means not now. So
Right. Right.
I stayed persistent and kept performing and doing a good job, putting in overtime, kept pushing, and finally they promoted me, but they put me on what's called a probationary period of 6
Okay.
months to
Mhm.
try me out to see
Okay.
how
Right.
she would do. Well, I kicked butt and I did the job. They promoted me to a branch manager, but without the additional pay because I was a woman and I did not have the college education.
Mm.
But guess what? I took it. And the
Yeah.
reason why I took it, Dr. Canute, is on my resume at the top. It talked about how I started out as a customer service rep
Right.
and
Mhm.
worked my way up through the company to branch manager because I
Uh,
didn't have that university education on the
right.
bottom of my resume.
Right. Mhm.
I needed that to navigate to other professional jobs throughout my career, but I still struggled. getting jobs just flat out, either because I was a woman or I didn't have that college education. Now, I'm not talking that I was applying to be, like you, a psychologist licensed where you have to go to school. We're just talking sales and customer service and fire in the belly and working hard. Similar jobs in America you can do without that college education. You just have to be a hard worker. So, so the moral to my story is my start in corporate America, my in between different employers, and my final stop in corporate America was more of the same. Just very disparate treatment as a woman in a very male dominated industry.
Wow.
And that brings me to my business.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I established my business in 2018 on a part-time basis because I realized not only in corporate America is there disparate treatment for women and people of color and minorities. Externally, I was witnessing disparate treatment. And what I mean by that is certain, not all, some front-end lenders will have their own personal biases or assumptions of gender, color of skin, and they may not return your phone call if you need an SBA loan or a bank loan just because of their own personal assumptions and biases. I witnessed it. I heard lenders say, we just won't call back a certain type of applicant. If it's not a loan size that's large enough, they won't take it. They're more focused on them, right? And the income they're going to make. And the sad thing is, upper management in some of these organizations are well aware of it because all that they're worried about are the numbers, the budget, the balance sheets, not so much about the people anymore. We kind of lost that love and feeling from the 1990s when corporate America was very good to employees. We lost that love and feeling, and we got to bring it back. We got to bring it back.
Yeah, and you talk about equity, and that is important. I am thinking, I'm in the realm of the educated Americans, right? And there are challenges that the educated Americans are facing, no doubt, in terms of getting the appropriate job that pays. I have seen, I'm not sure if you have seen it, that most educated Americans are being hired in jobs that doesn't pay what adds up to their qualifications. And in a lot of cases, I have seen even some of these job sites where high school diploma is all you need to get an assistant manager, managerial position, and in a few cases, executive positions that pays lucrative salaries. And I have seen that really. I'm saying this to ask you, right? What is your take on it in terms of equity, equality, in the workforce? I'm not sure what you have to say on that.
Oh yes, I have a lot to say on that, and it's relevant to right here, right now in America. Just last week, it was on the news. A university in North Carolina will not take college applicants unless you have a certain grade point average and a certain astute, based on your family background and such. And the rest of you are just passed over and dismissed. And that is not practicing fair and equal treatment. I don't believe that children like myself that was raised in a frugal, tight budget, just because things were hard back then on the family and on the parents' marriage that was split up. That's nothing to blame the children for. And because I could not be sent to a college university, I'm not applying to be a doctor, but I'm applying because I've proven to you I know the job and I can do it, and not promoting me based on not having an education. It's just not fair and equal. Now, I know there'll be people saying, but you didn't pay to go to school. Well, true, but I did work 18 years at my first employer and busted my butt full time to try to climb the ladder to get to the top, and I did. And I always say that was my education, 18 years of hard work.
Yes.
So we just have to be more accepting and with equity and inclusion, internally with corporate and externally with fair and equal credit opportunities. We're missing the boat in both arenas.
Yeah, definitely. Because you talked about experience. That is, as you said, that is your college education at that time. Well, yes, indeed, because the experience that you have, means
That's
that,
right.
hey, I'm able to do the work, and that is relevant. That
That's
is
right.
indeed relevant. But the challenge with a number of these educated Americans now having to repay student loans and so on, and not getting a job that can measure up to that, that's become challenging. But it relates to equity and so on. I have a group on Facebook. Education is America's future, and I try to get persons who are educated, underemployed, and unemployed to just talk about equity, talk about what we are doing wrong. You understand, as educated Americans, I just throw that in there because we're talking about equity, Deb. But I'd like to ask you though. Can you articulate your version of for business? Business in the future. How should business look? How should the new workplace look as it relates to women and people of color and minorities? How they take leads and so on. Talk to me about your version, your vision of the new workplace.
Yes, I have a vision that corporate America, upper management, needs to practice full diversity and not just promote who they know. We need to see more gender in those positions, and including all genders of people, not just one demographic, which is very common. We're still living as if it's the 1970s or the 1980s. And some of these owners of the companies are practicing with policies that are similar to those decades. And we're far past that now. That's why I am so appreciative to be a guest on podcast shows like yours, Dr. Canyouth, because we need more of us minorities, women, people of color, everybody that's experienced more of the same to speak up. But here's the challenge. This is the challenge.
Yeah.
People can't speak up when they're still working inside the four walls of corporate America. They can't speak up. I tried that twice. And it puts a target on your back to be pushed out.
Yeah.
And I try it in a positive fashion. I'm not a nasty girl by any means. I'm like, hey, we got to do better in this arena. If you look, we're so top heavy with the white male demographic, and we're not being treated fair. And these are some real life examples of what's going on. And I hear conversations that no woman should hear when there's alcohol involved with corporate America events and such. And, HR will just nod their head. Yeah. And then they're going to find a way to get you out because they represent the company. So until we can be more of a voice with the chains of corporate off of us and get out of that culture of silence mentality where people see something but they won't say something, we're going to be living in this for a long time.
Yeah. It's interesting because we often talk about the glass ceiling, right? And in my estimation, there's no real glass ceiling anymore. Right? I think women, trust me, I'm an advocate for women. I think you guys are great. And I believe that has been shattered already, and as it relates to equity, right, in the workplace. Yeah, you have noticed that. I have noticed it as well that there are some inequities going on in
Yeah.
corporate America, corporate world. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
how does that relate now to women really in terms of gender getting there and smashing that glass ceiling and getting involved in leadership? Are you seeing a lot of that? Women moving the glass ceiling away.
You know, we are seeing some women shatter the glass ceilings, not as many as I would hope for. And I have to say, I have in conversations like this, I know there are men out there that had awful women supervisors. So it can be fed from the other side, but it is still top heavy. It is still top heavy with one demographic. Can we do better? Absolutely. We sure can. And Dr. Canuti, maybe you might have took a siesta on me in Jamaica. There you are.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm giving you a wider space.
You're
right?
so sweet. I had that happen once to me, and they fell off the radar on the Wi-Fi. So I was ready to take the show on my own.
And I know you'll do well because I realize you have a show. I just like to, as you said that, talk to me about your show.
Well,
I realize you have a little thing going.
You're very kind. I am in the beginning stages of my own podcast show, just like yours, that will be streamed live on all the social platforms, similar to what you have streaming here. And I have a goal, and when you say it, you have to believe it. I would love to get on a 2020 news show or a nightly news show and share my story and what my passion is and what I'm doing to create diversity, unity and diversity with small business ownership and also in corporate. I think we have to hear more of these stories for all of us to think before we speak, think before we make a decision, get opinions from others. We can do this. We all make mistakes. But we can correct them and make them better. So that's the message I want to send. I want to leave this world because God called me to do this, to support women and the minorities and raise them up so it's a fair, level playing field. And we're on our way, but we got more to do.
Yeah.
So when you see me on 2020, Dr. Canuti, I'll tell the producers, make sure you call my friend because he needs to get on the show.
Yes. I love it. I know we're working together because I share your passion, right? And as podcasters around the world, and a lot of us share that passion to empower, to encourage persons who are having adversities, surrounding them, and try to empower the minorities and so on. Yeah, so I'm sure you'll get there. But my thing though, the guidance that you may have, for those transitioning from the corporate offices, right, the corporate world into their own business.
What would my advice be?
Yeah.
Here it is. Back in the 90s, we were loyal to corporate America because they were loyal to us. They took care of us. We had good benefits, good pay. We were home by 5. Meals were cooked. Families were sitting down by 5:30, enjoying dinners together. And somewhere through the decades, it changed. It got to the point where overtime was introduced and they let people work it because they'd pay it because they saw the revenues increase and the profits soar. And over the years, all of a sudden, people are putting in 50, 60 hours a week. Dinners at 5:30 are no longer existence, and the loyalty of corporate just changed. It was more, we were giving it our all for corporate and not getting much in return. And that continues today. It continues. So what I'm saying is, today it's okay to have a plan B and or a plan C, trying to figure out what that is to prepare if you're unexpectedly let go from corporate, like AI is the big monster in the house that's taking over a lot, right? You always got to prepare. you can't just not prepare anymore. You got to have that plan B or C in motion. And that could be a startup business, a side hustle, or I help people purchase, finance, establish businesses because all of the baby boomers are retiring like 11,000 per day, and they are selling their businesses looking for Gen Xers and millennials to transfer in and take over those businesses.
So corporate is no longer family friendly, right?
Cool. That's right.
So is it that corporate basically contribute to the demise of the family?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, the demise of the family, I would agree. Absolutely, Dr. Canyouth. Now, listen, there are some corporations that do a good job and recognize people first. I know some of them and they do a great job, but the majority of them don't. Okay. It's kind of sad that so many people are let go without any kind of warning. I can remember in the 90s, if you were going to be laid off, I think they gave you almost like a year notice,
right?
To start preparing for that plan B. Well, you don't get those notices anymore, ladies and gentlemen. So you have the right. You're the driver of your own bus. Start figuring out what your plan B or your plan C or both of them are going to be so you're prepared. That's the best thing you can do, is invest in yourself, because it's your future that you rely on for this additional income.
Right. But is it that corporate making a comeback, because some places around the world, in Jamaica in particular, just recently, paternity leave.
There you go.
It's been introduced.
How nice is that? Yeah.
Right. So the father can go home and have mommy, mommy about 2 months off. And so on. It's happening in Jamaica recently. I'm not sure. What do you think about that in terms of corporate coming back?
I would love for a huge corporate comeback, and I bet you it's going to happen because they have to. There's been too many people leaving corporate, and I don't know where these people are working, because everybody's looking for help. They need help. There's not enough help out there because people quit. Where they're going, I don't know. I mean, I keep hearing about baby boomers have all of this trillions and trillions dollars of wealth, and maybe it's being passed down to the family, and that's why they're not working. I quite don't know the exact reason, but anyways, it would be wonderful, Dr. Canyouth, if all of corporate would turn it around and really bring it home to unity and diversity for fair and equal treatment of all the people. We'll give it back to them. We'll give it back to them like we did in the 90s.
Yeah, I know. And you're doing your work as it relates to being an advocate for that. And I think you're doing a great job. I have to put up something here.
Thank you.
That's your contact. As you do your business, right?
Yes.
I'd just like everybody to see that. Would you like to repeat that from that? Just give us your contact, the persons who are on their favorite podcast platform.
Yeah, my website, ladies and gentlemen, that's the best place really to connect with me. DebCurtis.com, my first and last name. And I didn't make it long, Dr. Canyouth. It's not DebbieJoCurtis.com. It's just DebCurtis.com.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
You are doing what you are doing, and you're getting in touch with persons. Are corporate really helping this though? Are they feeling threatened by what people like you are doing? Talk to me. Are they on board? Many corporate entities on board, trying to clear things up and be good corporate citizens, so to speak.
I sure hope so. That's the plan. I do know some of my past employers where I used to work. One loan shop in general, they promoted my sales manager to the chief operating officer. And boy, oh boy, I was so happy to see that. And she told the CEO they had to absolutely change their whole business plan and hire more women, because it's an industry that's just dominated by white men. and she's leading the way and practicing that mission of hers. It's just so enlightening to see a COO, a chief operating officer, as a woman, and a woman that's passionate for unity and diversity. And I know she's a Christian. She would never bash men, but she will definitely be an advocate to practice equal and fair treatment of all people. That's why I love her. So yes, look at that. One of my former stops. Wasn't that way prior, but she made the change, and it's good changes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, Deb, I enjoyed talking to you.
You too.
I love what you're doing, and continue to do what you're doing. I am beside you. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Canyouth. You are a doll. And enjoy Jamaica. I'm sure a lot of people come to visit you from the States.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the States now, right?
Okay.
I actually live here, but from Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
Gone to Jamaica.
Nice. Well, you're still in the warm state, aren't you, in Florida?
I am in Florida, but I piggyback around Bronx, New York, and So one extreme to the other.
You gonna come visit me in Wisconsin, maybe in late January?
Let us see. That would be a good idea. All right.
It's cold. You got to put your snow boots on.
I tell you, at least I will see what's going on in the state. All right.
All
right, Deb.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
I forgot. Have you ever gone to Jamaica? I asked that.
No, I don't think I've ever been there.
Okay.
I do like I like reggae music though.
Oh yeah, so it's a home of Bob Marley, right? So
that's right.
Need to get there, take a vacation and go there sometime.
Now that would be cool. I would love that. Yes.
All right. Take care, Deb.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So that was Deborah, in fact, Deb Curtis. And she talked about equity in the organization, equity as it relates to minorities. And it's important that you understand what's going on. And she is doing what she is doing as it relates to advocacy and to get organization, corporate America, corporate world to understand the importance of equity as it relates to gender, minority, and other diverse situations that the corporate world encounters. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Canyouth Exploration. Your topic in the podcast.